practice. Come on over. So I went over there and they introduced me to the game. I'm like, that is some crazy shit, bro. That ain't shit.
Respect the talk, respect the talk. Respect the talk,
Ready to travel bigger, better, and smarter in 2026? Pride and Glory Travel and Cruise Planners has unforgettable trips lined up, and you don't want to miss these. Starting May 1st, on board Royal Caribbean's Wander of the Seas, departing Miami, stops in Coco Cay, San Juan, and Charlotte Amelia. Balcony rooms starting at just $15.84. On June 17th, experience the ultimate vacation. 2 nights in Las Vegas, 6 nights in Hawaii, then 2 more nights back in Vegas. This dream vacation starts at just $5,000 for 2 people. Coming in July, date to be announced. Explore Alaska on board the Carnival Miracle. See the Tracy Arm Ford, Seymour Glacier, Skagway, Janua, Saskatchewan, and Victoria. Inside cabins start at $904 per person. Then October 17th, enjoy an 8-day Caribbean cruise on the Lure of the Seas, leaving Fort Lauderdale, making stops in Williamstown, Orangetown, and Coco Cay, starting at just $1027 per person. And on November 29th, wrap up the year with an 8-day cruise from Miami, going to Nassau, Coco Cay, and Falmouth, Jamaica, starting at just $747 per person. Don't have the full amount up front? No problem. With FlexPay, you can secure your spot today and pay over time. Spots are limited, so act now. Call 920-265-8143 or visit prideandglorytravel.com. Pride and Glory Travel Cruise Planners, because your next chapter deserves a better view. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Respect the Talk. Got my nephew Boo in the house. What's up, baby Boo? Baby Bubba Boogie? Glad to see you, man. Glad to see you always, so.
Hey, I'm good, man.
So what you been doing, man? Check the Olympics out and stuff and all that crazy stuff.
A little bit, not as much as I had originally planned. Work has really been eating away at my time, man. And
yeah, I was just talking to the producer before you got on about, I kind of got away from it when they started going into breakdancing and stuff like that. They lost me on that one. I was like, okay, I gotta go. I'm sorry. Breakdancing at the Olympics. I'm like, come on now, really? That is not supposed to be a sport.
Last year when they did that, and first of all, breakdancing has been it lost its popularity here, but it's catching on globally. Right. And the people and kids that are out there doing it are just incredible.
I know, I know. But to make it a part of the Olympics, bro, I mean, like you said, breakdancing here went out like disco got the heck up out of here. It's gone.
It's definitely, but it is still like, that's like saying basketball was pretty much an American sport and we made it an Olympic sport because it caught on every place else. Right. So it's the same thing.
But we're still playing basketball here. We didn't stop doing basketball. We stopped doing breakdancing here. That's kind of like in the past,
That's not to say that it ain't popular. I mean, what's that other one where they be pushing the cork around, the puck around and shining the ice in front of it?
Oh, we just got through talking about that too, man, because that's another dumb sport, man. I couldn't believe, and I got introduced to that when I was younger, and we just got to talking to the curling. Me and the producer just got to talking about that curling, because I never understood that you get out there and you push this big rock that you got to order from Sweden or somewhere. You can't even get it here. And the rock has got to be a special rock that person's got to push, and then you got this other person out there to sweep it, and then you want it to turn, you got to move over so you can turn it this way, sweeping, and it's like, what is this?
It's crazy. So yeah, come on now, breakdancing, at least that's
okay. You can stop. You gotta try to justify it. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm saying at least it requires some athleticism. I don't know about sweeping in front of a puck.
Well, yeah, it's different, bro. It's different. Hey, well, folks, we're glad to have you with us here on another episode of Respect the Talk. Hey, what's going on, fam? This is Jerry B. You know me. Before we go any further, make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe to Respect the Talk. And wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, take us on a road with you. More to the point, take us on whatever journey you're on today or the rest of the week. Just take us with you. Tap in, leave a review, send this episode to somebody who likes real conversation, because this platform grows when you move it. All right, let's talk What we got, James? Come on at me, bro.
You know what? I'm having technical difficulties over here. It won't pull up for me.
What? Say
Yeah.
what?
Okay.
Say what?
Give me just a second here.
That's okay, man. Take your time, man. We can keep talking about some other stuff, man. See, and that's what happens when you check in late.
I know it was up, and then all of a sudden it disappeared while we were talking
Well,
about
we're shooting the
curling.
crap. Hey, that's okay.
Yeah,
You brought
my
you
my my little
you brought
PC
up
even said
curling.
curling is stupid. It just stopped. It just shut down on me
That's
because we
why,
were
because you said
talking. All right,
it shut down on you because we got talking about curling. All right, man. What do we got?
all right, man. So again, welcome everybody, one and all. So today we're breaking down the Olympics and how they still manage to represent unity on a global scale. Uh, and one of the wildest sports controversies I've ever heard of, um, excuse me, involving ski jumpers, loose suits, and a story that you honestly have to hear to believe. Just a side note, I brought this up to the wife before, and she was like, "What? I wouldn't." Yeah,
Yeah.
we're also going to get into the Super Bowl and why it still hasn't sunk in for the Seahawks. A real conversation about discipline and parenting in our society, Black history that doesn't get enough shine, and the disturbing disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. What's confirmed, what's questionable, and what still doesn't make sense. This is one of those
I'm sure.
episodes where we touch on a little bit of everything. So let's get into it.
All right.
Welcome to Respect the Talk with Jerry B.
Respect the talk. Respect the talk. Respect the talk.
All right, folks. I hope you got your little glass or whatever you're drinking there. Happen to have my soda or whatever, and hope you got your little cocktails and get ready for a nice episode we got here. We're gonna hit it up with our segment one about sports here, you guys, as I take me a little sip because Olympics, unity in a chaotic world, talk. Okay, the Olympic opening ceremony took place this past Friday, and no matter what side of the world you're on, the Olympics still managed to do one thing really well: bring countries together. I'm sure you all seen Snoop Dogg running down. He's all over the place. I told you that. Walking down with the Olympic torch and stuff. This guy is just he is not letting down. You know, even with Russia and Ukraine still at war, Israel and Hamas in active conflict, rumors heating back up about the U.S. and Iran. For a brief moment, the Olympics reminded people what global unity looked like, and even when the world feels like it is falling apart. What are you talking about? Do you want to get into this, man, before we get into Olympic history? Give you some quick hits.
Just a sidebar. First of all, this isn't the first time that the Olympics was going on during really chaotic time in the world. World War II,
Right,
notably historic for Germany even hosting the Olympics during World War II.
right. I
You
remember
know,
that.
so
But I don't remember that,
it,
but
it,
yeah.
it's not unusual, and from day one, the Olympic Games have been meant to do that, even going all the way back to Roman times and its original um, games that was always meant to bring people together through competition.
Yeah. Well, let me give you some quick hits. The first Winter Olympics were held in Chamonix, France from January 25 to February 5th of 1924. It's originally called the International Winter Sports Week. 16 nations, 16 events, 6 sports: skiing, skating, ice hockey, bobsledding, curling, and military patrol, which later evolved into biathlon. Norway topped the medal count. First Winter Olympic in the U.S. was in 1932 at Lake Placid, New York, officially known as the Third Olympic Winter Games. So Olympic ski jumping, and yes, this gets wild. Ski jumping is all about distance. Athletes fly off massive ramps and try to land as far as humanly possible. Olympic records normal hill is 113.5 meters, large hill 146.5 meters. So naturally, athletes are always looking for an edge. Anyway, the allegations that made officials laugh, according to BID, some ski jumpers are allegedly injecting their,
Yep,
their
exactly.
penises with acid.
That's where
Yeah.
when I read that, dude, I just died.
With acid. Why? A temporary enlarged groin area allows athletes to be measured for a slightly larger ski suit. Once swelling goes down, the suit becomes looser. Looser suits, more airlift. So the study claims every 2 centimeters increase a suit's tolerance can increase lift by about 5%. That translates to 2.8 meter gain per 1 centimeter. We're referring to hyaluronic acid, whatever that is. Whatever that is, I don't know. Naturally produced in the body by the body, help retain water and lubricate joints, commonly used for moisturizers, dry eye treatment, skin, and joint remover. The German doctor confirmed temporary visual thickening of the penis by injecting the substance is possible. When asked about the alleged allegations, officials initially laughed, then got serious. WADA Director General Oliver Norwood said, if anything was to come to the surface, we would look at it seriously if it's doping related. So yes, that's officially on the radar now. I have no
words.
no words. Yeah, no words.
You know, like I said, man, I told my wife that, and she said, the first time I said it to her, she listened, and then she said, "I must have misheard you. Go back. What did they say? What are you saying?" I said, supposedly these guys are injecting an acid into their little tallywhacker
Yeah,
to get swelling so that their suit is looser, so that they jump further. She said, "Why?" I said, I guess it's a lot of pressure. You know, you spend your entire childhood prepping for this event. You get your opportunity to go to the Olympics and shine for your country, and you want to perform.
right.
She said, but is it really that important? I said, for some people, I guess it could be. You know, professional bodybuilders use steroids and everything.
Right, right.
He's like, but exactly. Look at, and later on, they have problems and they shrivel up down there. So why are you going to inject down there? I said, I don't know. She said, I would never. I said, well, you could never.
You're right, exactly.
But it was just the conversation. She's like, well, if I had one, I would never.
No, yeah, I know. Yeah, it's crazy. Hey, but here's an actual fact though. Before Viagra came out, that's what guys used to get bigger jumps and junk in their trunk. You know, they would have to they had to inject themselves before Viagra. You know, and I was like, who does that? You know, and I was younger when I heard that. I was like, people do that crap. The doctor was like, yeah, I mean, that's what they did.
I thought that was only in instances where there was something like, what was his name, Bobbitt?
Yeah, Lorena Bobbitt. Yeah. No, that was you know, men has always had AED for years. They just didn't know how to treat it. So that was one of the ways in treating it back in the day, way back in, I don't know, the 70s and 80s, is they shove a needle up there and pump the, you know, with the what's the name, and then they get this enlarged junction, and then they can have sex. You know, the older guys would do that. The old men. I was like, dude, there's nothing in the world make me want to have sex that bad. Yeah, I'm sorry, man, but yeah, you can look that up, man. That's what they used to do back in the day before electro ED medicine came out. That's what the medicine was. And that you can look up, man. So it's crazy, bro. The things people do. Hey, as the spinners say, games people play. Super Bowl 60, y'all. Seahawks still letting it sink in. I tell you, man, that was a crazy. Now you didn't watch the game.
No,
I didn't think
no
so.
Burton's on the team yet.
Yeah,
So
no. I figured that. So, and I'm not going to hold a lot of conversation about this because actually, guess what? I didn't even watch it. It had no dogs in the fight. I did watch highlights. I heard my wife because she's a huge, huge football fan, so she watches it. Even though she wasn't that into it, but she was into it because that's what she it was in her blood. That's what she does. She watch football. She came. She said, "This has got to be the most boring game she's ever seen in her life." I mean, it was just no score. It was a defensive game. It was just, I don't know. The Seahawks still let it sink in. Seahawks kicker Jason Myers says the Super Bowl 60. This guy kicked, I think, 5 field goals.
that's what I
Yeah,
heard.
5 field goals, and and it was a field goal game. That's basically what it is. The Seahawks defeated the Patriots 29-3. Myers made Super Bowl history with 5 field goals, most ever in any Super Bowl game. I didn't think it has really sunk in yet. Just an unbelievable season, unbelievable team. Seahawks did a phenomenal job. Second year as the youngest coach now of the Seahawks. Second year there and won a Super Bowl. The team had nothing but respect for him. And it showed, so it really showed.
Yeah,
So
congratulations.
yeah,
Like I said, the best of the best is always a great game. So
yeah. And they were underdogs. They came back from the beginning of the year, and because they weren't looking pretty at all at the beginning of the year, and nobody ever expected that, and they came back and they just like, you know,
But that's usually the case, man. Teams that start out the season looking really good by the end don't look so good, and
yeah, yeah.
vice versa. There's always some underdog that came
So
through looking pretty.
so you didn't watch the halftime show either, then?
I did. I went back and YouTube the halftime show a couple of times.
Yeah. So I did. I came out to watch that. You know, again, I didn't know who Bad Bunny was because I'm too old for that. But I speak. The Spanish thing, the message that I knew he was trying to portray was an amazing message, which is about love and unity, love over hate all day long. So you got to respect that, even if you don't like him, but you're gonna still have haters out there. Somebody posted something yesterday, I think it was. The thing he hated about the halftime show, the Super Bowl show, was not the fact that he sang in English, that he didn't sing in English, but the fact that he didn't take the time to learn Spanish. And that was so profound. I was like, now that is huge because that's a true patriot. He's not blaming this guy for not singing in English. He's blaming himself for not learning Spanish because this guy could sing and speak in Spanish and English. Can you? So who's the weakling here? You the weakling because they did have Spanish in school growing up. So who looks like so instead of hating
Yeah.
on him, you need to hate on yourself because you should have took the time to learn Spanish and be bilingual. So that was so profound when I read that yesterday. I was like, wow, that is heavy.
Yeah, and that was one thing that kind of there's been a spotlight placed on it.
Yeah.
All around the world, people of all nationalities, from all countries are learning English.
Yeah.
And that's because Americans have a reputation of being lazy and stupid. So in order to communicate, they have to learn English.
Right.
So I it saddens me that more people didn't take the time to learn a second language and actually use it.
Right. Well, because America think English is the number one language. No, it is not. But they want to think that we're so dominant of the world. And people should succumb to what we do, and
Exactly.
that has always bothered me because, who are we to tell other countries that you got to learn what we do, what our language, and screw you and all this other crap. I mean, what makes you so much better than anybody else? I mean,
The American sense of entitlement
yeah,
is just outrageous. But but like I said, it boils down to me that everyone is always talking about um people from S-hole countries and
right,
they're they're this and that and basically saying they're stupid. But most of these people are coming here and as adults learning English when we can't learn any other language.
right, exactly. Yeah, we can't, or too lazy to take the time to learn a different language. So it's because we are, again, guess what? Entitled. We feel we're Americans. We are so entitled that we shouldn't have to because English is the first language. No, it is not the first language, folks. I'm telling you that out there now. English is not the first language. It might be the first language to you because you don't know anything else other than, guess what? English, but it's not the first language to nobody else. And if you had took
Yeah,
the time learn Spanish, you wouldn't have to be wondering what the two Spanish people are talking about when you're in the elevator and you're the only English speaking person in there and they speaking Spanish. You know what the hell they
exactly.
talking about.
Exactly. And I give Bad Bunny and um Apple and the entire producers of this show the utmost respect
Yeah,
because even without understanding Spanish, there was enough going on where you can kind of get the gist of it anyway.
go the message. Yeah,
Yeah. So it was, and the message was powerful, man.
yeah.
It was, you know,
Now
it
I'm not
it
gonna
was
lie.
about love and community and family, and and so it was a good message.
Yeah, it was a very. Now I'm not gonna lie and say I loved it because I didn't. I wasn't. I'm not a big fan. But again, I'm from old school, So I mean, you can't expect me to be anything other than I respected what he did. Just like I've always said about music, I respect his craft, because I can't do it. And I respect that he does what he does. I respect Taylor Swift because she does what she does. Am I a Taylor Swift fan? No. And she does sing in English. So
Right,
that
right.
has nothing to do with the fact that I don't like the guy. I just know that's just not my cup of tea. But I did love the message that he put forth in front of the American people. The message was strong: love over hate, win all the time. And that's a huge message. And if people can't get behind that and they want to go over to Turning Point USA and try to say an all American show, which they forgot that Puerto Rico is, guess what? America.
Yeah,
United States, you dumbass. Excuse my French, but,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
Well, here's the thing about the music for me. I I I could completely get into the vibe of the music. I love the beat anyway. Anything that's gonna get you bouncing and
right, right.
kind of swaying. That's always good music to me.
Bro, if I swayed, I follow my ass. What are you talking about? Bad leg and stuff. Are you kidding me? I bounce my butt right on the
See,
floor.
see, you just threw a monkey wrench into my whole theory, man. I figured that the people who couldn't appreciate that music were people who just had no rhythm.
Homie, you're talking to an
So that's
OG
why
here. That's why.
it was easy for them to go over to the TPUSA show and because from the snippets I saw that um
Kid
the
Rock?
timing of the lip sync was off, so it made perfectly good sense that you could bop to the music or bop to what he was doing and still fit in so that you weren't really bopping to anything.
Right, right, yeah.
And so that old stereotype of white folks can't dance, hey,
Hey,
it
hey.
fit.
Hey,
It fit. So
they trying to change the driver's license test down here to English only, and that's sad. That is just that's the country we're living in. The driver's test English only. I mean, come on, folks, really? I mean, it's just. And here's the bad thing: they could do it for what the next 3 years because that's how long this person's got in office, and then it'll be changed back. So it's just pissing away unnecessary money doing something that don't need to be done, like always. So
yeah,
like changing the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which will always be the Gulf of Mexico. It's just something stupid to do. Let's move on to the next culture check here, folks, because we're going to talk about something else different and near and dear to my heart. Because this is all we're going to talk about. I think you brought this up in a text on our Respect to Talk page about disciplining children. And you said you was at work and saw a little girl about 5 or 6 slap the snot out of her dad. You said you seen that, and you can tell the story, man. It's
yeah.
your
I
story.
was basically walking through the aisles, and little girl was screaming. Um, uh, through teary eyes, yelled out she wanted a cart. Her dad bent down and said, "We don't need a cart." And she brought a hand.
A
Them
haymaker, one of those
old
haymakers.
man. Those old movies where the pimp slaps a
Yeah,
prostitute.
yeah.
She brought it from
Way
way
back.
down, way behind her knees, and just came up and connected. And I was like, "Whoa!" I was just in awe. And he repeated himself he took it like a champ, repeated himself. We don't need a cart. As he took her by the hand, walked out the door and grabbed the cart.
Hmm.
And he put her in the cart and kept going. And I was just like, wow. And I was just so outdone. I mentioned it to another coworker, and she said, "Oh yeah, she punched him like 3 or 4 times before you even walked up." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And all I could think was that that used to be a cultural difference, but even now it's just a difference in parenting, period.
Right. Well,
Because
for
I've
sure.
I've seen I've seen other people. Just recently, I saw this woman with her 2 kids, and her 2 kids were both going back and forth and screaming, yelling. Definitely had no idea of an outside voice
Right.
type scenario. And you can you looking at her face, you could tell she was just exhausted.
Right. Yeah.
That her kids run her life, run her ragged, and she was just exhausted.
Well, here's what happened, and I think I talked to producer about this a little bit, or at least put this on Facebook because I responded to your page, and I said, well, what I felt, what happened. It's not what I felt, it's what I know happened when this all law first came out. They said parents weren't allowed to discipline their kids. Okay, that when it first came out, kids were talking about I'm calling the police, and the teachers would tell the kids if your parents smack you or do anything to you, call the police. And kids were literally doing that, and police were literally coming out arresting parents for spanking their kids, chastising their kids. You guys, I don't know if you guys remember this because you guys were a little bit too young for this, but yeah, that's where it really started at. The government had to come back and change that law later to say, okay, you can discipline your child. You just, well, because now I guess the actual law stipulates in all 50 states now that you are able to use physical discipline as long as it doesn't cause serious injury. Okay, the difference between discipline and abuse comes down to severity, injury, and risk to the child's health. Important distinctions. Corporal punishment may have been banned in schools in some states. That does not audibly apply to homes. State example: Washington, spanking allowed, abuse defined as more than transient pain, more than minor marks, actions like shaking infants or using closed fists cross the line. Texas uses a reasonable discipline defense. Force is allowed unless it becomes assault, cause serious injury. So the conversation isn't can parents discipline, it's how far to go. But That's what I was trying to explain. When this law first came out, they didn't, just like anything, they didn't they came up with a law and said you're not allowed to spank your kids. That's exactly how it was written. You're not allowed to spank your kids. There was no buts, ands, or ifs about it when they first came out. None. So then, because I remember me, because I'm from the old school, I'd tear my kids' head off their head, and I'd tell them not call the
Your
police.
brother too.
Yeah,
Your
I call the
brother too.
police. Now call the police and tell them to come get you, and then the judge could raise your ass because I'm not putting up with this crap because I didn't play. And Tiana and them will tell you, your cousin will tell you that I didn't play. I don't play that. But that's where the law was written when it first came out. They didn't say you can. The teachers were literally telling kids, if your parents hit you, call the police. And the next thing you know, you got the rollers up at your front door. I say, here's the phone. Call them. Here, leave me down a number for you. It's 911. Let me help you.
No, your sister-in-law, I remember her telling me, yeah, you can call them, but they got to get here first.
Right, exactly.
And that was an implied message that I fully understood. That calling who?
Yeah, exactly. But that's the way our government did that at that time. So then they had to refine the law, which is what our producer put up there, is the refining of the law to allow parents, okay, you can spank your kids. But what happened was then the damage was already done. So parents, every time, if you even think about hitting your kid, people out in the streets look at you like give you one of those ugly looks, like you can't hit that kid. I'd be like, man, and I see this guy and his kid over there acting like a butthead on the floor in the grocery store. Man, listen, my dad never just knocked my head off in the grocery store. And that's where things went awry in this United States. These kids have no responsibility because they never been spanked before. They've never been chastised before. They've been time out. Because that's when time out came to play. Because they were people going on TV talking about, well, when your kid get out of line, these are counselors, when your kid get out of line, instead of spanking them, just give them a timeout over in the corner. Or just go send them to their room. Dude, the kid, that's their favorite place to be, in their room, because guess what? They got video games in there. What are you talking about? TVs. I mean, it was a crazy time, bro. It was nutty.
You know what? Here's the thing. Your brother did not spare the rod at all. He was not one. He was not one to put up with back talking. And it's funny because when I brought this up, he was like, I would have taken you out to the car. And I thought to myself, you wouldn't have waited that long.
No, exactly. I'll smack you right in the store.
Right. My parents was full on, if you're going to embarrass me in the store, I'm going to embarrass you.
Exactly.
No. And I was like that. I was a disciplinarian with my children. There was no such thing as being grounded. My dad, at a certain point, he said, you know what? I've yelled, screamed, spanked, beat. I'm done. Let's see if I can take something else away from you that's more important to you. So he would ground me, and I remember not seeing any of the outside on my summer vacation. Coming home from school, 5th grade, end of the school year, everybody's all excited.
Yeah, you
I'm
go
like,
to the house.
No matter to me. I'm going home. I'm gonna be looking at 4 walls for the next 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but in hindsight, I look back, and I think this is where a lot of parents fail. I look back in hindsight and know that he did that out of love and trying to protect me.
Yep, exactly.
Because and I had an older gentleman when my kids were very young. I had an older gentleman said, well, what do you consider abuse? I said, well, abuse. He said, well, would you ever try to rape your kids? No. He said, would you ever beat your kids near to death? No. He said, okay, would you, for months at a time, lock them into a bathroom or walk-in closet? I said, no, no. I spank my kids. I do it out of love. I send them on their way. And he's like, well, if you don't discipline your kids now, society's going to have to discipline them later.
Right.
And that walk-in closet or bathroom that you wouldn't leave them in for months at a time is a jail cell.
Yeah.
Those inmates in there, there's a possibility that they're going to get beat to death or near to death or raped and molested while in jail.
Right.
So you do what you have to prevent society from doing what they have to
do. Yeah.
Right. And I thought about that, and I realized I turned out okay.
Yeah. Well, the same thing here. My dad, you know me, dude, he didn't spare the rod. I mean, I've seen extension cords. I've seen freaking, what do they call those belts where you your razor straps? And I've had it all on my, my hoo-ha, because I was, and I deserved it. I ain't gonna lie. As I got older, I realized I deserved every one of them, because of, I mean, it made me who I am today, and I could have been even worse had not been, because I know he did it out of love. I know my mom did it out of love, so I'm like you. I know they did it out of love. They never abused me. That's something I can always say. I was never abused by my family, ever, ever, ever. They never abused me, but I was chastised, period, and I mean, and I never thought there was anything wrong with it because I never abused my kids because I loved them to death. But I didn't want them to turn out like knew they could turn out. So, it's just you do what you got to do. You got to protect your kids, period. Get them ready for society in the future. Hey, let's go to break and we'll be right back, you guys. We want to thank you so much. Stick around with us another little bit. And if you hadn't, go get you one of these little cups and get your little cocktail and come on back and enjoy our next segment here. We'll be right back in 2 and 2, you guys. Ready to travel bigger, better, and smarter in 2026? Pride and Glory Travel and Cruise Planners has unforgettable trips lined up, and you don't want to miss these. Starting May 1st, on board Royal Caribbean's Wander the Seas, departing Miami, stops in Coco Cay, San Juan, and Charlotte Amelia. Balcony rooms starting at just $15.84. On June 17th, experience the ultimate vacation. 2 nights in Las Vegas, 6 nights in Hawaii, then 2 more nights back in Vegas. This dream vacation starts at just $5,000 for 2 people. Coming in July, date to be announced. Explore Alaska on board the Carnival Miracle. See the Tracy Arm Ford, Seymour Glacier, Skagway, Janu, and Saskatchewan, and Victoria. Inside cabins start at $904 per person. Then October 17th, enjoy an 8-day Caribbean cruise on the Lure of the Seas, leaving Fort Lauderdale, making stops in Williamstown, Orangetown, and Coco Cay, starting at just $1027 per person. And on November 29th, wrap up the year with an 8-day cruise from Miami, going to Nassau, Coco Cay, and Falmouth, Jamaica, starting at just $747 per person. Don't have the full amount up front? No problem. With FlexPay, you can secure your spot today and pay over time. Spots are limited, so act now. Call 920-265-8143 or visit prideandglorytravel.com. Pride and Glory Travel Cruise Planners, because your next chapter deserves a better view. All right, folks, we're back again for our next segment here, and hey, you know what? I want to do something a little different here this week for you folks because my producer doesn't even know I'm getting ready to do this, but I want to bring him in on the conversation because I know he does have a microphone there listening in. Are you in there, partner?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up?
All right, man. So you come up with this Why Facts Black History. Now, I don't know. I want to talk to your wife one of these days because I got to figure out what you got to be bored or something, because you're you're younger, hell of a lot younger than me. Okay, and you come up with what do you just be reading books around the house, or what, are you one of those book nuts that you got a bunch of books on the shelf somewhere and you just pick something off the shelf and just start reading crap?
No, not necessarily. I just find a lot of stuff intriguing. Like I love to learn about different things.
So then, if that's the case, how do you come up with? Most people think Black Panther was the first black superhero. Wrong. Okay, because this is the next segment, folks. I want you to understand where I'm going with this at. Okay, this is the next segment because The birth of the all-Negro comics, 1947. Now, you were nowhere even thought about back in those days. So
Not at all.
you would have had to grab this information from somewhere. And it was created by Orrin Cromwell Evans, a black journalist, worked at the Philadelphia Records, an all-white publication. Couldn't write openly about racial inequality, so he built his own platform. So now, what I'm trying to ask you, how did you come up with this topic without somebody telling you about it, or you didn't read about it? Well, did you read about it? Let me ask you that.
Well, here's the thing. This is how I came up with this topic. First, I was actually I was headed to go film, and I was listening to a podcast. It's a Black History podcast. They tell stories about different things, and it was one telling a story about African like folk tales. So I was listening to that, and they was talking about like different monsters and stuff like that. I was like, we had brought up the case of the first black superhero. So I said, let me do some research and figure out, because my understanding was the first black superhero I know from Marvel was Meteor Man with Robert Townsend. When he had made that, they had came out with a few issues a good while ago. So this is where this came from. This one here, because James has said something about it. He's like, no, it was this one. I was like, well, let me do some research to figure out
I figured my nephew had to get it to be a part of this here somewhere. So I knew.
Well,
I knew.
I'll be honest. I thought it was Blade, and you said it was Meteor Man. So our producer corrected both of us. So we're both dummies.
Well, no, I don't think we're dummies. I just think he's got to get a job, because he's got a whole lot of time on his damn hand to come up with some crap like this. Because who sits there and researches? Okay, it was founded in All Negro Comic Inc., published in 1947, 48-page comic with four. Hey, I appreciate you sharing this knowledge out here with us. Feature multiple black characters, including Lion Man. Use comics to tell black stories during segregation. So I'm not hating on you for this, and I just trying to figure out where in your brain, where's it going? When you come up with these things like this, I know a lot of the stuff you feed from off of what me and James might be posting and doing, but this one you kind of fed off of where you was at somewhere in Tampa or whatever the hell you was doing, because all of a sudden I'm looking at this, I'm like, how in the heck does he come up with this stuff here?
Yeah, and that was the one when I checked it out. I was like, wow, this is so fascinating. The first actual black superhero was Lion Man. He was someone in Africa, in the tribal lands and stuff like that, putting in work. So that right there, when it said Lion Man, I was like, wait a minute. So it wasn't Black Panther. It wasn't Meteor Man. It was Lion Man. He was the first one. He wasn't even, it was even back in the time where they really wasn't allowing black people to really do anything with newspapers. So they kind of gave him this, this job here, as an artist or whatnot. And then when I was actually looking at some of the pages, it looks like an actual comic book, like it came from the maybe 1960s or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So it looked it had some nice commentation. The whole storyline looked pretty cool. So I was like, this is nice. This is pretty cool to talk about right here.
So, you actually looked into it. It's still available?
I don't think it's fully still available. There is some pages that you can find online, but I don't think the actual print is available now.
That would be interesting. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that myself, because I wondered, because he's got sparked my interest, and I'm gonna have to Google that and see if it picks it up there or something, and see if somebody can pick that, because I'm interested in the the history of that, because I'd never heard of that before. That's new to me, So anyway, sorry to bother you, producer. Appreciate your time in this and explaining this to me and James. Let's move on to our next topic. I appreciate you.
Well, wait, before we step off of that, I know that there was another black author that worked in the newspaper, and this may be the same person. He attempted to put his comics or editorials out there, and because it had to do with the subject of the mistreatment of black folks
Mm-hmm.
or the inequality there, that he turned around and decided that, if he makes it fantasy or sci-fi, then
Mm-hmm.
and Rod Serling did this again later. If he made it uh, about fantasy and sci-fi, then people would openly accept it. Is Could that be the same person?
That possibly could be the same person because that's exactly what he did. Because he had saw that the racial injustice was out there and stuff like that, so he figured this would be his way of have his voice, so to speak. This would be his voice of showing this is what's going on and so on and so forth, and made it look. And that's kind of like, and if you actually look at the comics and different things now, they kind of do the same thing. Even with Norse mythology and different mythologies that's out there, they turn them into superheroes. They turn different gods or pagan gods and different things into superheroes, and it causes people don't realize it causes young people in a way to worship these superheroes, these fake gods. Because think about that. You have Thor, and you have all these people like, man, I'm Thor. Stuff like that. So those type of things, like I said, have is always been around to where people have used them in a way to have people gravitate to it and make it more friendly. A lot of things don't have a good story, but they made it a good story. Like just I want to take you guys time up, but this is I know my wife had did a piece a good while ago about Chris Kringle, Santa Claus, and there's a story that happened, I think, in the 1800s, probably earlier than that, to where it was about how it was a pedophile that would, go around get kids the toys and stuff like that, and stuff like that. So, all the stories, like even nursery rhymes, are not necessarily good, happy
Right.
endings.
Yeah.
They're actually
Sure.
more
Yeah.
tragedy than anything.
Folks, this is Black History Month, which is why we just doing some of this stuff here. We touching base on a lot of different things, like Claudette Colvin. Before Rosa Parks in March 2nd, 1955, Claudette Colvin was 15 years old, refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery bus. Her words, "It's my constitutional right to sit here. I paid my fare." She was arrested months later before Rosa Parks. Her impact became a plaintiff in Bauer versus Gale case that led to bus desegregation. Colvin later said, "I felt like Sojourner Truth was pushing one shoulder and Harriet Tubman the other. History just didn't give her the spotlight, but the impact was real." Being, Black History Month, we figured we'd share some of this Black history with you guys. Just like I think me and James was talking about that last week, about all the things that Black people had created in this world, that people didn't know about, like the flashlight. I mean, the stop and go lights, refrigerators, and all the other fun stuff. So we're just sharing a little bit more knowledge with you folks here during Black History Month. So I don't know if you need to speak on that at all, James.
No, no. I thank all of them for their sacrifices,
Yeah, yeah,
because at 15 years old, if she refused to give up her seat, not only did she get put off the bus, but she probably faced some, well, I'll tell you, you little,
yeah.
and got beat down a little
Right.
bit
Yeah,
too. So
probably. So yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's sad, but it's a memory that but that we can kind of keep with us and not let die because they're trying to kill our history here, our history, and we got to keep it alive. All right, let's move on. Here's some news here, folks, that just it drives me nuts because I don't understand it. Nancy Guthrie, an 84-year-old, the mother of today's co-host Savannah Guthrie, and lives in Catalina Foothills area near Tucson, Arizona. Okay, what we know so far, January 31st, 2026, Nancy was last seen after being dropped off at her home following a family dinner. February 1st, she was reported missing after failing to attend church and not responding to calls. Evidence at the scene, blood found on her front steps, was confirmed to be hers. A Ring doorbell camera was forcibly removed. Cell phone and pacemaker data suggested something happened overnight, and investigators believe that she did not leave voluntarily. The investigation, the Pima County Sheriff's Department, and the FBI are treating this as a possible abduction. The home is considered a crime scene. No suspects or person of interest have been publicly identified. Ransom claims, multiple ransom notes demanding millions in Bitcoin has been sent to media outlets. Deadline had passed without verifying proof of life, and authorities have not confirmed the note as authentic. A $50,000 reward was being offered for information. Family and public response. Savannah Guthrie and her siblings have made public pleas for Nancy safe return. Experts have questioned whether this fits a typical kidnapping pattern, and nearby residents have highlighted security. Nancy Guthrie has been missing since late January. Investigators believe foul play is involved, but many critical questions, including the legitimacy of the ransom demands, remain unanswered. Now, today, this afternoon, the police released photos of this guy taking the doorbell camera, Ring doorbell camera off. So you can actually see him. He's got a hoodie on now. So they did release that now. They're showing this guy up there trying to get the Ring doorbell thing off the door. That's taking a picture of him as he's doing it. This must have happened because this was written yesterday. So anyway, and it shows him grabbing some wood because he didn't want to take his gloves off, grabbing some whatever tree limbs and trying to help pull behind there because his gloves was too thick to pull off to Ring the doorbell camera off. So he was trying to use some tree limbs to yank it off of there so they couldn't get his picture. This is crazy, man. An 84-year-old woman. Who kidnaps an 84-year-old woman? That's like 0.5, below 0.5% of anything that could ever freaking happen. It just makes no sense.
Right. I was just watching a video not too long ago, and the host of that little podcast or whatever it is was saying, your life has gone wrong if, and that's got to be it. Your life has gone wrong and you've made some bad choices if you have to start with kidnapping an 84-year-old woman.
Yeah. I mean, it's
No.
just sad. I mean, what are you going to do with her? You shouldn't never kidnap anybody. So we're not trying to justify that, folks, by saying, well, kidnap somebody younger. No, we're not trying to say that. But an 84-year-old woman here, I think that's just, it's just insane. What, are you going to rape her? No, you're not. I mean, come on, really? She's 84. So it's like now she can't probably move that fast at 84. So what, are you going to drag her around? It's like, why would you even do something? That's what makes it so suspicious to me that something else is at foot here, because I can't see anybody in their right mind doing something like this. It just doesn't make any sense. I keep asking why.
The thing that makes sense about it is that her daughter, she's a mom of someone famous. So that's where it becomes believable. However, and that's all capital letters. However, the person that did this had the wherewithal to remove the cameras, wear gloves to prevent fingerprints, wore a hood to try to disguise and cover their face, but they asked for the ransom supposedly in Bitcoin.
Well, go back before that. Go back before that though, because there was no
Totally
break-in. There was no break-in. There was no doors broken or windows broken. So it's like he had to find a key or made a key or something somewhere, because there was no glasses. If I'm not mistaken, there was nothing broke. There was not it didn't look any signs of a break-in, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I could see that then, because if this Sunday dinner or if this family dinner is a weekly thing, which is very possible. There are a lot of people out there who still do a weekly family dinner. If this was a planned thing, a known common thing, and because the family doesn't mistrust anybody or doesn't mistrust the area that she's in, they dropped her off, and before she walked in, they pulled off and left, and this person was standing in the shadow, which would explain the blood right there on the porch.
Right. Yeah.
So no break-in makes sense. Getting rid of the cameras before that happened makes sense. Choosing Bitcoin as ransom doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I hate to be this person. I really do. But I've lived through some woman drowning her kids in a car and saying that she was carjacked.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. Mm.
I lived through so many other stories like that. And it terrifies me that this could be an inside job.
Right. Well,
This
yeah,
could
me
be
too.
a family member that, for whatever reason, just
Well, they're
accident
yeah, they're
happened.
actually looking at her daughter's house where she had dinner at. Not Savannah's, but the other daughter's house where she had dinner at the night before. So it just is so confusing. I'm not trying to say anything, folks. So don't get me out. Don't get me wrong. Me and my we're not trying to point fingers at nobody and do that because that's not what we do here on Respect to Talk. Unless it's fact, we're
Not at
not. We
all.
don't.
Not at all.
We don't repeat it unless it's a factual thing here. But we do send our hearts and prayers out to her and that whole family over there because that's just such a heartbreaking thing. My God, I don't know what I would. Can you imagine somebody kidnapping your mom, dude?
No,
At
no.
her age, I mean, you at any age really, but I mean, it's
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, i- if it ever happened to my mom, so I want this to be perfectly clear to everybody out there who might even think it.
and I stand by you on it because I know where you're going.
Blood from a turnip. That's all I can tell you. Blood from a turnip. Blood from a stone.
Yep.
You can't get it.
Yep.
So I ain't got it. You kidnap my mama, I hate to say it, it would be for practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cause I ain't got nothing to give. We ain't got nothing to give. We give our love, we give our open help and charity, but outside of that, we ain't got nothing to give. So it
Yeah.
would be for practice.
They just to me basically I just my thing is they better hope they don't get caught because if they get caught and I find out what prison they in, I'm gonna find a way to get in that same prison and it's gonna be some blood to be taken. Period. Because I ain't scared to go to prison, so it's gonna be some
But
blood to be
that
taken. So
that that that's the one of the unwritten laws in the prison anyway.
yeah.
Old people and
And
little
children,
kids.
yep.
Yep, you go into prison, you done something against them.
Yeah, yeah,
You
it's
gonna
on.
catch it anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, man, that just like I said, all of us here Respect to Talk are sending our hearts and prayers out to the Guthrie family, and hopefully, God, I just hope and pray that she gets back home safely. That's the only thing I can say, folks. So with that being said, Bo, I hope you had a great time tonight on the show here, man. We're gonna I know we were long last week, but now we're gonna be short this week. So
Yeah.
we can get up out of here and go eat some din din or whatever. So on that note, folks, hey, my name is Jerry B, and this is
Hey, before you head out, man,
what?
I knew I did some research.
What did I do now?
I did some research on y'all Florida laws. Y'all still got iguanas all over the place.
Yeah, we do.
Cold
Not
snap
not, not
still.
right not right now because we don't have cold snaps now. Now it's warmed up, so they're good.
Okay.
They're good.
Next time around, we're gonna have to figure out a way to say screw y'all state laws and you to grab me one and ship it over to me. Overnight it to me.
Yeah, okay. Put them in one of those freezer boxes and stuff, so to stay cold.
Right.
Stay.
With a hot pack or with a cold pack,
Yeah,
so
to stay frozen dormant until they can get to you. So
there you go. Hey,
put it in one of those Omaha steak boxes and shit that I got. Omaha steak iguanas coming your way, buddy. Oh my God, we gotta go, folks. God bless you. Take care. Keep your prayers going for the Guthrie family, folks. Good night, you guys. Take care.
Good night, y'all.
Welcome to Respect the Talk with Jerry B.
Respect